All right, now we're going to adjust the front preload. We've installed our American suspension preload adjusters. The cool thing about these adjusters is they're 1.5 inches long. So you can use that to raise or lower the height of the bike, which is important because if you're putting new suspension on, you probably want to make it handle better. You're probably going to go faster. You're going to want more ground clearance. In which case, we've installed these 15-inch shocks, and we want the frame to be level. So we put our preload caps on here, and you can't really see, but they're 1.5 inches longer, so we have 1.5 inches longer rear shock. Now the bike sits balanced. If you wanted to run a shorter shock, you could still run the preload caps. You would just run them up in the tube higher, so you could still have the adjustment. So we're going to set the preload, since we have the preload adjuster, and along with the preload cap, our kit for the Nightster includes a set of springs. So we have a little bit different spring rate in here to give you a little bit better performance. So a little trick from the days before data acquisition is to just take a little wire tie. You can also use an O-ring too. I just take that, put it here, and all this is going to do is tell me how much travel that I'm using. So if I go through a bumpy section of the track, I can see how much travel I'm using. So to start out, what I'll do is I'll kind of pull back so the front suspension is all the way extended, and then I'll push that down. And then I'll drop the bike, and I'll see, looks like I got, pull that all the way up, push that all the way down. Now I'll let it under the weight of the bike, and then I'll grab the brake and I'll pull up, and it looks like, oh, we got maybe an 1/8 inch, looks like something like that from where I can see. Anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1/10 of an inch is okay. Or it's in the range. Now the next thing I'll do is I'll get on the bike, and I'm just bouncing it. One thing you can notice is that the front suspension and the rear suspension are tuned to work together. That's so important. If you're trying to be comfortable, if you're trying to ride the bike fast, the front end and the back end have to work together. So if you watch the bike, as I bounce on it, the front end and the back end kind of bounce the same. And you can imagine as you're riding the motorcycle and you hit a bump at high speed in a big sweeping corner, if the bike starts to get all upset, you're going to have handling issues. If the bike just reacts front and rear together, you're going to feel much more confident. So again, pushing that down, sitting on it just under my weight. Now I'll get up, I'll pull up, and then I'll grab my little tape measure, just get an idea here. Now we can be anywhere from 3/4 of an inch in the front to 1.5 inches. It looks like we're right about 1 inch, maybe just a hair less than 1 inch. We could adjust it. We could back it off a little bit, or we could leave it right there. I'll I'll back it off a little bit just to show you how we do that.
Right there.
Oh, this is a tool.
Next to
Oh, the green
finger.
one, right here. Okay, good. Okay, so just takes an Allen wrench, and if we look at this, you can maybe get a, I don't know, can we get a close-up on this? There's a little weight jacker on here. It works just like the weight jacker on a stock car. If you look at the original patent on some of our forks from, I think 1995, a long time ago, it actually had this configuration for adjusting preload. So when I turn this in a little bit and I get a little more preload, if I turn it, say, just a little bit out, I'll get a little more, and then a little bit more sag, just to kind of try something a little bit different. And then I want to be sure I get both the right and left. Again, if I change one, I want to change the other so that they're both identically the same. And you can always double check that by, if you look down there and you see where the adjuster is and how low it is, they should be even. If they're not even, you got to change them. It's so important to have the right and left balanced, the front and the rear balanced. If you don't have those two balanced, what happens is the right fork and the left fork are going to behave differently. They'll have different stiffnesses. You're going to hit a bump, especially on a heavy bike with this front end. You're going to, and a conventional front end, that axle's going to want to twist. You're going to hit a bump, and what's going to happen is the bike's want to deflect. Or particularly on a bike like this, the Nightster, it has a single disc brake. You're going to grab a handful of brake, the bike wants to twist the front end. If you have uneven preload right to left, that's going to make the bike be very sketchy. So again, balancing the bike, so important. So now we've adjusted the front preload, the rear preload. The next thing we want to do is adjust the dampening on the rear spring. And for that, these are our street racer shocks. They are really cool because in addition to being able to adjust the preload, down here there's a rebound adjuster. In that rebound adjuster, there's 128 different, right here, there's 128 different positions of rebound adjustment. Now, to get those, you screw this in all the way, and it's kind of hard. This exhaust pipe's kind of close, but to start out, what I'll do is I'll screw it in all the way. All the way. Okay, so I got that in all the way, and then I'm going to go to the other side. And I'll screw that in all the way as well. Now we have 128 clicks, as I said. The first, from being pushed all the way in, which there's a needle and a seat in here. That needle goes in the seat, blocks the flow of oil. When the needle's all the way in, you'll get your maximum low speed dampening. So we're going to start out, we screw this all the way in until it bottoms, and then we back it out. The first 60 positions position the needle different relative to the hole in the bleed screw. After that, the last 60 positions move it out of the way of that hole so that during bleeding and assembly, it ensures that any tiny little bubbles have an easy time escaping. So that's more of for the assembly. So I'll just finish screwing these in. I'm going to start out all the way. And And you can't really assume that they've come adjusted right. This one over here. Okay, so that's all the way in that one. One click out. This one is all the way on this one. It's kind of hard on this particular bike because the pipe is very, very close to the shock. So I'm going to start, I'll go a few clicks out.
We can cut that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A nice audible clicks, you can hear that. Again, like everything, we're trying to get a balanced bike. Of course, I'm going to do 10 clicks on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And never listen to anybody that tells you that you should have 2 different dampenings, the right, the left. Again, you don't want your swing arm twisting. You don't want to hit that big bump and feel the whole bike start wiggling around on you. So, put the bike like this. And I'm just going to kind of push on it. Now that's a little bit fast. So I'm going to screw it in 5 clicks. 4, 5. There, 5 and 5. So it's a little bit better on this bike. The thing is, on this one, front, you want the speed in the front and the speed in the back to balance. And this is the stock front end. It's not adjustable. So this is fairly well balanced like this. When I get on the bike, again, the bike kind of works together. You want it to drop together and you want it to bounce up together. If one side, for instance, if you made this really slow, this fast, you'd hit a bump and then the bike would snap up in the front and start pivoting about the back. That'd be terrible, or vice versa. So again, having a nice balanced bike,